Hey guys, welcome to the CoinFLEX podcast, where we're going to talk about who we are, what we're building, and where we see the space growing. Without further ado, a bit about myself. I'm Mark Lamb. I've been in crypto for 8 years, started the first UK Bitcoin exchange in London in 2013, moved out to Hong Kong in 2019, and co-founded CoinFLEX.
Hi, I'm Sudhir Arumugam. I'm the co-founder of CoinFLEX along with Mark. I have over 20 years of experience trading derivatives, futures and options in particular, from the traditional space, from firms like DRW, Sequoia, and Merrill Lynch. And about 3 years ago, I got into crypto, and because crypto markets are moving away from spot into derivatives, and moved to Hong Kong along with Mark to set up CoinFLEX.
So a bit about CoinFLEX. CoinFLEX is the first physically delivered futures exchange. We launched in 2019, had a huge growth of volume due to FlexCoin, our liquidity mining exchange token. And we really see the futures exchange business as growing more and more to the borrow-lend space. And physical futures are really the only solution for that, because with borrowers and lenders, they actually need the underlying physical asset. And so we launched the first ever crypto repo market. Unlike traditional repo, crypto repo can be accessible by anyone. And we're now building a suite of stablecoins and also borrowing and lending tools on top of what we've built in terms of repo and physical futures and perpetuals.
And through the rest of this series, we'll be describing and bringing out news about these products to our customers. So we want to tell you a little bit at a high level about what this repo product is. So repo is basically where you take one asset that you own and you borrow or swap it for another asset on a central order book. And you can either do this as a maker, where you receive basis points of edge, which is kind of an equivalent of annualized interest rates, or you could be a taker, where you have, say, Bitcoin, you want US dollars, so you ingress into the order book and trade against a dollar lender, where your Bitcoin is held as collateral and you can take the dollars off platform. And what's great about the repo market on CoinFLEX is that it's the first centrally cleared and tradable repo market in the world, and this is including both the traditional space and the crypto space. And the second great thing about it is that this is the only market in the repo market in the world where retail users can directly access it, whereas in the traditional space, it's only accessible by the kind of big banks and the Federal Reserves and the other central banks.
So even if you're a hedge fund in the traditional space, it's very difficult to access repo. And what we've seen is ultimately in crypto, there's about $22 billion in stablecoins that are earning 0%. So if you're holding USDC or Tether or any stablecoin, you're basically earning nothing on your money. And this is at the base layer. On top of that, you can take those stablecoins, put them on a platform, or put them on DeFi, or trade them on margin, and you can earn on your stablecoins. But at the base layer, the rates are zero. And so what we've created is flexUSD, which is the first stablecoin where at the base layer there's an interest rate. And it's a floating rate. We think it might be somewhere between 5 to 10% on an average kind of basis, based on how our repo returns have been so far. But it's a floating rate of interest, and it's one-to-one redeemable with USDC. And the interest is fully derived from the repo market. So because the repo market is this short-term borrowing and lending market, it allows for complete redemptions at any time. And so it's fully redeemable for USDC, but it's also paying interest every 8 hours on the blockchain. So if you hold it on the Ethereum blockchain as an ERC20 token, or the BCH blockchain as an SLP token, you receive interest payments 3 times a day. And this is completely unique because let's say you go to Curve or any of these DeFi applications, you can then take flexUSD, and as flexUSD gets accepted as collateral in these DeFi applications, you effectively earn yield twice. So this is why we have the yield squared, because you earn yield on the underlying flexUSD, but you can also use the flexUSD in DeFi to yield farm, or in an exchange, CoinFLEX for example, to trade on margin, or in another venue to effectively do whatever you want. And while you're doing these things, these productive applications for it, you also get this base layer yield as well. And so we call this the yield squared concept.
And what's attractive about the earning yields on the base layer through repo is the fact that this is sustainable yield. And what do we mean by that? What we mean is that in contango markets where futures trade above spot, there tends to be a very decent return for dollar lenders. And this is a natural extension from the market. This is not coming from airdrops by CoinFLEX or any other token. It is just purely a function of the market, implicit interest rate in the market.
Yeah, so perp funding rates and futures funding rates have been a form of yield for the last 5 years. So it's completely something that's going to exist for probably decades to come. So it's really a sustainable project. So one of the next things we're launching, and this is coming very soon, and it builds directly into flexUSD and the repo market and really everything we've built, is a one-click borrow tool. And right now there's a few lending desks and borrow lend desks where you can borrow OTC bilaterally US dollars or Bitcoin or a variety of assets over collateralized. And so you might pay 50% over collateralized, or 70% or 20% over collateralized. But you're effectively borrowing from a desk that is hedging in futures, or it's hedging somewhere else, or it's kind of taking a middleman style approach. And CoinFLEX has created a one-click interface where you can borrow directly from the underlying futures markets themselves. So rather than going through a middleman, you're borrowing direct. And the end result is you can get a floating rate borrow with one click, and it's borrowing directly from our repo market. And actually flexUSD as a stablecoin is powering that as well, because anyone who creates flexUSD is basically lending dollars to you. So if you want to borrow dollars, you can basically borrow dollars from the flexUSD holders. And it's all fully collateralized, but because it's a perp and because it's a futures exchange, the collateral rates will be much better than a lot of these borrow lend desks, up to 98% LTV. And yeah, it's the goal is to make something super simple and automated, no manual steps necessary, no need to negotiate. You can just see the rate and see the market and go for it.
And so the first option and the simplest way to trade it would be a floating rate borrow. And why is it a floating rate borrow? It's because when you use your collateral through the one-click borrow to sell into dollars, you get a long perp position against that to make sure that you don't have any market risk. So you're protected from a Bitcoin price movement up or down. You make no money or lose any money. But the long perp position, which hedges your original Bitcoin exposure, has a perp funding rate which is unknown, and so that becomes a floating rate borrow, because we don't know over the course of however many months or weeks that you keep this loan open what the charge on that rate is. And so we've designed a product which sits alongside this, which are called fixed rate interest rate futures. And what does that mean? It means that basically we'll have monthly interest rate futures going out for a year, where depending on what period you want to borrow at, you can combine the repo trade along with the fixed rate futures trade and create a locked fixed term borrow where you know exactly what your rate is for the period you're going to borrow. And don't worry if you don't, you do not have to do anything, because the borrow GUI will do all of this for you. You have to select your collateral, how much you want to borrow, and it will estimate the rate for you and execute it for you on CoinFLEX.
And really the goal of what we're trying to do is not compete directly with the other derivatives exchanges on what they're focused on. So a lot of derivatives exchanges are focused on very specific things around some new coin or some new product. We're very focused on the borrow lend space, and the stablecoin space, because no one's really doing stablecoins that pay interest, and the borrow lend space, no one is doing borrow lend via exchanges. So there's no collateralized exchange for repo or for longer term loans as well. And so we're trying to differentiate ourselves and really focus in on this space and sort of consume a large portion of it through just cutting out middlemen and making the space more efficient. So that's really the focus of CoinFLEX going forward. And I think a lot of people will find this style of borrowing to be lower interest rate, more automated, and less effort. Hey guys, so also some of you have been with us for a while and been part of the CoinFLEX community for a while, and this will be very familiar to you. But for those who are new, I just want to talk about FlexCoin for a bit. And FlexCoin is really the coin that powers CoinFLEX. We had a fair launch. It was all issued through liquidity mining, and basically there's only ever going to be 100 million FlexCoin. And it is what we earn basically all of our revenue in. So all the fees, almost all the fees are paid in FlexCoin because you get a 50 to 70% reduction in your trading fees if you're using FlexCoin to pay for them. And you can use it as collateral on the exchange. So you can do trades using FlexCoin as collateral. And also a lot of our borrowing products going forward, a lot of the things we're building around borrowing and lending are actually going to have a FlexCoin component to them. So they're either going to have a requirement to own FlexCoin, or just like with trading fee dynamics, you'll have better economics if you use FlexCoin to do so. So yeah, we're really excited about FlexCoin. It's going to be, it is a key component to our ecosystem right now, and it's only going to be more of one so going forward. A lot of what we've been building has been kind of around the CoinFLEX ecosystem, but everything that we build sort of ties right back into Flex. So yeah, really excited about that. And if people have any questions about anything we discussed in this podcast today, please let us know. Please put some answers in the questions or contact us on Twitter or Telegram. And we will be back soon with more detailed episodes going into very specific updates and product launches, and also interviewing some of the partners we end up working with as we get flexUSD out into the DeFi ecosystem and the BCH and SLP ecosystem as well.